Yo, what is going on? How is everybody doing today? Welcome to the Risen Fallen podcast. I am your host, Mark Hendrickson. If you're brand new to this show, then what you can expect is open and authentic conversations about things like mental health, self-development, and how to get your life moving in the right direction. If you're not feeling good about where you are right now, at least having the confidence knowing that you're moving in the right direction. And so, that's how we are rocking and rolling. I hope that you guys are doing good. Happy Monday. It is Monday, November 10th. If you're listening to this on the day that it drops, good morning. And I hope that you are doing well. I hope that your weekend went well. I hope that your families are well. I hope that you're feeling blessed. I'm feeling very blessed. It is, we're creeping into winter now. I hate to remind you, but the cold weather is coming. However, it is, I feel like the winter time is always my best time, my, time of reflection and time of planning and time of, sometimes it feels like hibernating, because I feel like my energy is way lower. It's darker earlier, etc. And, it's definitely my, recuperation period. So I'm excited for that. I'm doing pretty well today. I hope that you guys are doing really well. And I promise you this will be the last, probably not, but I will make an honest effort to make this the last time I talk about my thumbnail. Broke my thumb. If you haven't been following the last couple episodes, I broke my thumb and, the nails has slowly been just kind of peeling itself off. It's really gross, honestly, but, I did come up with a cool little analogy, and it kind of did get me. It made me laugh. Honestly, it was just like kind of stupid thing that I thought about, but then it was also just like, oh, there's actually something behind that. And so I wanted to chat about that today because one of the things. So I'll run you through basically the extent of the injury thus far. I broke my thumb at work, crush fracture. And then the nail came off, we put it back on, and then it came off again. And so the idea of it getting put back on was so that it could act as a splint. And then I was just kind of it was stitched in, and then they cut the stitches off after a little while. And they basically tell you when you break your finger, when your toenail goes red or whatever, or black or whatever, they tell you like it's basically just a matter of time until the whole thing just comes off. And then hopefully it grows in well. That's basically all they say. And you're kind of just like stuck left thinking, well, here we go. Like that's basically where we're at. And so I found myself the whole time, covering it with Band-Aids, covering it with tape, wrapping it up when I go to like do, some light duty work or whatever it is, like trying to exercise with it all wrapped up and just trying to do what I possibly can, and really my main goal is like, I just want to keep this nail on as long as possible. I don't want to lose my nail. I don't want to be a one thumb-nailed guy, like it's just not really, didn't know it was going to be in the cards for me, but it is what it is. And so, around Halloween, it was just kind of like starting to just get like it was just hanging on by a thread, like a loose tooth when you're a kid and you're like, well, I can't eat. This sucks. I can't eat anything hard because I can't chew properly because my tooth is loose and it hurts because it's loose, because it's just hanging on by a thread, because it's just, half on, half off. And every time it gets kind of irritated and moved because it's not being held on by a strong foundation, there's a pain point, and that pain is a message, obviously, but it's also shitty and uncomfortable. And so I just got to the point where I'm like, all right, this nail's coming off. It's pissing me off. It's snagging on clothes. I can't do anything properly. And, you get like, again, it's weird, funny, but you get attached to these things. You're like, oh, I don't want to lose my nail. I don't want to, as it feels like a piece of me is getting ripped off. And, at the end of the day, the nail came off and it is a little tender. It is a little sensitive. But day by day, it's getting a little less tender, a little less sensitive. And, ever since I just kind of let go of that idea of holding on to something that was inevitably not working out, it eased the pain, it eased the uncomfortability. This is just kind of what I'm thinking about is like, the message behind what I'm trying to talk about, which is so often in life we hang on to things that are not held on by a firm foundation. They're not. They're something that's kind of half in our life and half out. We're either maybe it's because of the nature of what it is, whether it's a person, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a thing, whatever it is, or it's us. Like, we're half in, half out. Whether it's a relationship, a hobby, a sport, a job, or whatever. Like anything in your life. This could be literally, physically, hypothetically, metaphorically. Whatever, whatever. Because at the end of the day, there's so many times where we attach our identities to what we do, who we hang out with, the way that we think about ourselves. We attach our identity to that. We attach labels to ourselves. I'm this kind of guy. That's how I am. And it gets to the point where, because we have this idea of like, this is who I am, and then there's this idea of who I want to be. And we can, we almost convince ourselves that it's not possible because of the way that we speak about it and the way that we think about it, and how attached we become to these types of things. Because, when we start to realize, this is actually becoming an impediment in my life, it's actually causing more problems than it is not, then we kind of find ourselves maybe emotionally or physically still attached to something where it's like, I know this isn't right, I know this is wrong, I know it's kind of, maybe it's just kind of something more optimistic. Like, it's like, I know there's something better out there. I know that I can do better. I know that I can offer more somewhere else. I know that, I'm kind of being broad about this because I think it is kind of a broad topic, but there's so many times where we latch ourselves on and we try and hang on to something that we need to let go of, because not only is it, maybe hindering our own progress, hindering us getting, closer to where we want to be in life, but also a lot of the times what we're doing is hindering whatever we're hanging on to, it's always, especially when there's more than one person involved, when there's somebody else, it's not just you. A lot of the time, what happens is it becomes destructive for both people. When we hang on to things that we should let go of, and it's one of those things where it's a lot more obvious when the pain is more immediate, and the toll that it takes on us is significant. It's more obvious, but there is these little lingering things in a lot of our lives that we think that we can get away with. We think that we can, maybe tell a little white lie. We can sweep it under the rug. We can hide it from those outside of our homes. We can, or hide it from people within our homes. And slowly but surely, those things will, loosen like a loose tooth. Every single day it'll wiggle, it'll wiggle, it'll wiggle. And one day the floodgates are going to open. And so what we really need to ask ourselves is, what do I need to let go of? What am I hanging on to in my life that's, consistently causing me pain, consistently causing me, and it's just because it's, half in, half out, this kind of like not firmly connected, there's just that's a kind of a beautiful way to explain it, I guess. And the other thing I wanted to talk about today, I think it actually kind of flows in perfectly, is like in terms of our mindsets and our, sometimes again, it's not something that's physical, like a person or a body part or, something like that. Sometimes it's one of those like things where it's like metaphorical, what we're hanging on to. And I know that in pretty much every job I've ever had, I've really wanted to just shine. That's kind of the way that, maybe my imposter syndrome comes out. I'm like, maybe if I can get some sort of, credit for what I've done, a pat on the back, words of affirmation, then I'll feel good, And so I've always tried to, whether it's like kind of consciously or subconsciously, like kind of just get people to notice, hey, I went above and beyond. I did my very best. I tried my hardest. I did this. I did that. I look at how much I got done. Look at the results that I've gotten. Like, look at all this. This is great. I made this a great list of all the things that I've done. I've been, I was addicted to KPIs and performance indexes because I like having those numbers to chase. And so for me, it was always kind of tough. I always kind of thought that, especially, when it comes to customer service, I've always kind of thought if the customer knows that I did all this great stuff for them, they're going to feel special. They're going to feel valued. They're going to feel, and I kept thinking about it in that kind of self-serving, kind of way. And it wasn't until, recently I had somebody at work, and again, newsflash, I do home renovations. If you didn't know that, I'm a carpenter by trade. And, I just kind of try my best to, eventually when you work with people over and over and over again, whether coworkers or they're, you work on the same projects together, whatever it is, you start to, and I guess this goes the same for relationships as well. You start to understand what people are looking for. You start to understand, what their requirements are, what they're expecting of you, and maybe where they need help, and maybe where they got your back. Like, oh, I can, they'll fill in for this because they know I'm not as good at this or whatever it is. And so that's what you call chemistry. That's what you call synergy. That's what you call good business, good coworkers, efficiency, those types of things. And so, after years and years of working with, similar people or the same people over and over and over again, you kind of you feel out like what they're looking for. And recently was one of the first times where it was like I did a bunch of prep. I did the demo. I got the floor already. Just like did as much prep work as I possibly could without actually laying the floor myself because we have a flooring installer. And so the flooring installer gets there and he's like, wait, I don't have to carry the material in. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to, this floor is going to be done in hours. Like, you've done so much work already for me that I could have done. Like, that was my job, I thought. And, it's not just about work. It's not just about getting along with coworkers or trying to get appraisal or trying to get, because he was happy. He was like, enthusiastic about it. He's like, this is an easy thing. And then, like I said, it's not just about work. It's not just about, relationships or anything like that. It goes above and beyond that in that, I think a lot of us, we want to be the goal scorer on the team. We want to be the slam dunker, the superstar. And I think for a lot of us, there is a time and place. Like there is a time and place where all of us need to feel like we are the goal scorer. We are the slam dunker. We are the superstar. We are the guy catching the touchdown when it happens, when that is the case. But we also, I think, need to celebrate the guys that are out there giving assists and throwing alley-oops, letting other people have an easy day, have a, good crack of the day. And I think that this kind of comes into play a lot of the times, for example, in relationships, people talk about gender roles and what the man should do or what the woman should do or what the kid should do or what the parent should do or what this should do or that should do or whatever. And honestly, if you line up 1,000 fucking people and ask them, all about those things, I'm sure you're going to get pretty much varied answers from everybody. But at the end of the day, if you're asking for my opinion, which I'm assuming you're okay with me sharing if you're listening to this podcast, I think a lot of the times, it's obvious the stereotypes are out there and they're stereotypes for a reason. But that being said, it's fine for, I don't think it's bad or negative for people to just fill in the gaps for each other. Maybe your, wife doesn't do as much laundry and you do a bit more laundry. Maybe, she does more cleaning or she does more cooking or you do more cooking or you do, someone late rakes the leaves and someone does this and someone does that. Does it really matter the fucking and again, this sounds kind of like fucking rocket science maybe for some people, but does it really matter who does what when at the end of the day, if it's like, I'm naturally gifted at this, or I don't mind doing this, or I like doing this, or I know you don't like doing this, or whatever it is, like those are the types of things where we just need to start to fill in for each other. And again, I'm using a relationship as an example, but again, you could reflect it back to the coworker thing. You could reflect it back to your friend groups. You could reflect it back to, and look at me being an amateur. I have my phone's making fucking noises right now. I forgot to put my phone on silent. I don't know if you heard that. Maybe I just disrupted the podcast for literally no reason, but okay, definitely at this point we gotta silence it. Anyways, it doesn't just come down to, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think a lot of us need to get a little bit more comfortable with throwing a couple assists out there, throwing a couple alley-oops for other people, throwing some recognition out for other people. Not only is it just going to make their day better, but it's going to make your day better because it's going to make your bond stronger. This person's going to like you more, want to work with you more, want to trust you more, and they're going to want to help you more. And you're also going to be improving their life. Like, you're going to be making them happier, more confident, more, there's nothing more dignifying than being able to do your job really well and then get, acknowledged for that. And if you can assist in someone else's, way of doing that, I can guarantee you whether that's your intention or not, it's going to come back tenfold for you. So I think that a lot of us will score more goals, metaphorically speaking, if we start passing and creating more assists, creating more alley-oops, creating more, throwing the touchdown as opposed to catching the touchdown. If that makes sense. And so I guess that's pretty much it. I guess that's all I really wanted to talk about today. And just circling back to this idea of, holding on to things that we should let go of. I think a lot of the time what that comes down to is this, illusion of, having no control in our lives. And I think that the more we're able to control the things that we are control, the more that we're able to come to terms with and come to peace with the fact that there's going to be things that we can't control. And the more that we fortify ourselves and make ourselves more formidable and more, ready for action, the more defenses, the more we're going to be able to prevent what we can't control from impacting us as much for as long, if that makes sense. And, sometimes we just get stuck in life and we think that, I can just push through this if I try harder. I can just push through this if I add more to myself, if I do more, if I try more. And I think that a lot of us, it's not about doing more or getting more. It's maybe something that we have to let go of, maybe something that we have to release, just let it go. They say, if you love something, let it go. Well, if you love yourself, also let it go, because it is what it is. We hang on to these things for so long. I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up. Before I start talking in circles again, but hey, if you made it this far, I'd like to hear from you. Please let me know what kinds of things have you been holding on to for so long that are holding you back from moving forward in life, or what kinds of things did you hang on to in life that you've let go of, and how did you manage to do that? Comment that below, please. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment it. If you're listening to this or watching this clip on Instagram, comment it below, and let's get the conversation started. Let's share so that other people know that it's okay to share. And if you enjoy this episode, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, please rate it 5 stars, leave a little review. All of those little things help ya boy out. And on that note, that's pretty much it. I will see you guys next Monday. Peace out. Much love. Bye.